Okay, so everyone's had quite a busy day, if not necessarily a productive day, but a day of getting stuff done. So even if it's not the right things, the things that we were supposed to have done, sometimes it's just good to have that day off, isn't it? And just get other things done instead of work. But it's nice to just spend a little time at the end of the working day just to just relax, unwind, and recharge our energy. So just get yourself ready for the basic relaxation pose. This is the one that we nearly always come into at the beginning of the session. And it's really nice to come into this pose after you've been active all day. It's a really good way to suddenly just quieten the mind. So just have the bolster underneath your knees, have the blocks underneath your feet, and then just bring the blanket underneath your head. Now there's a nice little tip here. If your neck is a bit stiff, then just roll up the end of your blanket, and you don't have to roll it up very much. Roll it up a little, and then there's that extra support in your neck, which just gives you a really quietening action in the neck. So just come into your basic relaxation pose. The bolster underneath your knees, the blocks underneath your shins, and the blanket underneath your head, rolled up a little at the end to support your neck, and then release into the floor. If you can cover your eyes, then do. If you need to cover yourself with a blanket to keep warm, then do that as well. So the priority in restorative yoga is to find a space where you're comfortable, where you're warm, where it's quiet and private and dark. So if you can't create darkness in your room, then cover your eyes with flannel or an eye pillow. Just something that helps the body and the mind to relax. So remember, if any of these positions don't feel comfortable, then adjust until they do. You should never feel like you have to bear discomfort in this style of yoga. This is all about finding comfort. Draw your attention into your breath. Fill in your lungs from the bottom to the top. And empty in your lungs from the top to the bottom. In yoga, the in-breath is our energy. So as we inhale, we draw in the energizing ingredients of the atmosphere, which percolates into the lining of the lungs and spreads out into the blood. And then the heart beats, that blood fully oxygenated from around the lungs into the body, feeding every living cell with freshly oxygenated blood, helping every living cell perform its function optimally. So just observe the in-breath and observe the out-breath. So there are 4 stages of breath. We've got the in-breath, which is our commune with the universal energy that surrounds us, drawing that energy into the body so that the body can absorb the energy of the in-breath. And then, as long as there are no heart conditions or blood pressure issues, there's the retention, the inhalative retention, where we just hold the breath very briefly at the top of the in-breath, allowing the energy within that breath to absorb more deeply, for the body to absorb more of the energy in that breath, more of the oxygen. And then the out breath is our release, where we purge the body of anxiety and stress. And at the end of the out breath is the post exhalative retention. And if you hold it for just a few seconds before you inhale, then the body becomes deeply purged of tension. So just fill your lungs evenly and deeply from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs. Hold on to that breath briefly, just a second or two, and then release into the floor with the out breath. And at the bottom of the out breath, just hold that retained breath very briefly, just for a second or two. Don't overhold. And then long, slow, deep, deliberate in-breath. Just focusing on those 4 stages of the breath. The in-breath, the post-inhalative retention, holding the breath briefly at the top of the in-breath, and the out-breath, and the post-exhalative retention before you inhale. So continue with the cycle of inhalation, brief retention, exhalation, brief retention. Draw your attention into the soles of your feet. And then relax the soles of your feet. Draw your attention to the soles of your feet and relax the soles of your feet, letting the skin relax, letting the muscle relax, letting the bones relax. Draw your attention to the tops of your feet. Draw your attention to the tops of the feet and then relax the skin and the flesh and the muscle and the bone of the top of the feet. Draw your attention into your shins. Draw your attention into your shins and relax the shins, allowing the shin bone to sink into the calf muscle. Draw your attention into your thighs. Allow the thighs to completely let go and relax. Letting the fronts of the thighs sink into the backs of the thighs. Relaxing the thighs, draw your attention into the torso. Draw your attention into your torso and relax the skin and the bones and the muscles around the torso. Draw your attention into your arms. Draw your attention into your arms. the muscles and the skin. Just release the arms into the floor, softening the biceps and the triceps and the lower arms and the palms, just releasing them into the floor. And then soften the neck. Soften the neck and release the muscles around the face. Just giving into the straight line of the floor. Just feel the tingle of the skin. And then when you're ready, just gently wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Bend your knees, bring your feet onto the bolster. Just have the knees together, the feet apart for a moment. And then gently roll onto your side. And then sit yourself up in cross legs. If you've had a cover for your, if you had an eye pillow over your eyes might be a little blurry momentarily, but don't worry, they'll recover. Just close your eyes and just feel how your energy has changed just through that simple relaxation pose. And then we're going to do our mountain brook pose. So this is really nice. So get your blanket and then fold it into a little pillow, but then fold it over again. So you've just got quite a thick blanket. Now that might be too thick for you. So You might want to adjust that in a moment. You might want, so this is going to go in your shoulders. I'll show you. So you just come down onto the floor. The bolster stays underneath your knees. And then you just come down onto the folded blanket. So your head comes onto the floor. And then you just rest your arms over your head like this. Now, if this is too, if the blanket is kind of too thick, then it might not be very comfortable. So you can just unfold it in this kind of quarter fold and then just fold it down the middle. That felt a little bit big for my shoulders on that last one. So just folding it into this little quarter and then folding it down the middle should be about right. Again, just using the blanket to cover yourself over with if you feel like you might get a little chilly. So just come down onto your back. Just let the blanket press into the shoulder blade region and then just reach your arms over your head. If it's uncomfortable in your neck or shoulders to bring your arms over your head, then just put a block or two underneath your hands so you can kind of more comfortably find the floor with your hands. So it's a good shoulder opener, and it's also a good way of just opening up your shoulders. So the bolster is underneath your knees, Ian, just this way, and then you just got the blanket for your shoulders. Otherwise it's going to be a bit intense on your back. That's it. So just blanket underneath your knees, a folded blanket just underneath your shoulder blades. Bring your head onto the floor, unless you want to do a different pose, in which case just do something that you're going to be comfortable with, and then just rest yourself down on the floor. Now, just the folded blanket underneath your shoulders suddenly allows you to open up the armpit region. It's good for the immune system. It also helps to ease out stiff shoulders. So this is called mountain brook pose. So it helps to ease out tension in the shoulders. But it also helps to really lift your energy. So as we progress into the practice, I'll speak less and less so that you're not needing to constantly listen. You can just use this time to completely let go. So it looks very simple, and it is. This pose will help to revive your energy. So you can cover your eyes and just if the pose doesn't feel comfortable, Just focusing on those 4 stages of breath. And then just bring your arms just to rest on, your hands just rest on your lower ribs. Bend your knees, bring your feet onto the bolster, and then gently roll yourself up into the seated position. And then just cross your legs, sitting cross legs for a moment. And then just observe feeling in your upper chest, in the shoulders, in the neck, energy and space. And then get your bolster and have that for underneath your back. So we're going to go into our butterfly pose, kind of Supta Baddha Konasana pose. So have your bolster for your back, and then get your blanket and have the blanket so it's kind of a long fold like that. Fold it down the middle, and then bring your feet in towards the body, and then get the blanket, bring the blanket around the fronts of the shins, and then pull the ends of the blankets through in between your legs, so that it's basically holds you in position. So the blanket is just around the fronts of your shins, and then just guide yourself back down onto the bolster. If your head rolls back, then put a block or another folded up blanket underneath your head. So you got your blanket. Bring your feet in. Bring the blanket around the fronts of your legs, the fronts of the shins, and then pull the ends of the blanket in between your legs, and then that will keep your legs in position. And then come down, and then just rest down into this supported butterfly pose. So the blanket around the fronts of the shins, the ends of the blankets through the between the legs, and then just bring yourself down. If there's stiffness in your hips, you can always put blocks underneath your thighs. Cover yourself over. So it's not quite in. So it's better if you've got the blanket like that, you bring the blanket around the fronts of the shins and then get the ends of the blanket in between your two legs. And then that just kind of holds everything in position from there. And then come down into the butterfly. Just observe the feeling of openness of the front chest. Close your eyes. Again, covering your eyes if there's lots of light. And go back to that 4 stages of breath. Okay, when you're ready, just gently draw your knees towards each other, push your elbows into the floor, and then just sit yourself up back into cross legs, and again just observe how your energy just lifts and elevates. And then we're going to do a really gentle inversion. So just get a bolster for your legs, but then put some extra lifts underneath that bolster. So a couple of blocks, just to see if you can pile it up a little so that you've got some good height for your legs. And get a belt if you've got one handy. If you haven't, you can just wrap a blanket around your legs. Put the belt just around the tops of your feet, around the tops of the shins, and then you're just going to gently come down onto your back. If your head rolls back, you can always put a blanket underneath it, but you don't necessarily need one So with the legs gently elevated, make sure that you use something to hold your legs together. So if you haven't got a belt, just get a blanket and kind of wrap it around your feet like this. And then it's probably better if you're kind of on top of the end of the blanket, but that should kind of hold your legs together. So that way round would work. And again, you can just cover yourself over. So especially just keeping your feet warm. And then release into the floor. So the legs are just very gently raised. Bringing quietness into the lumbar spine, into the shoulders. If your head feels like it rolls back, put a blanket underneath your head. Otherwise, just allow yourself to gently release into the floor. So if the feet are securely bound, you can just let your legs relax. Spend a few moments just considering some of the things in life that you feel grateful for. Picture them in your mind's eye and absorb the positive feeling you get from picturing that person or that thing or that place. allowing it to absorb into the heart area. And then let that go. And then think of something else for which you feel grateful. Absorbing the positive energy that fills the heart area. And then let it go, and then continue until you've run out of new things to consider. Expressing thanks for each of those things or people or places. Just gently growing a feeling of genuine abundance in the heart area. And then just rest in the positive feeling you get from just spending a little time with things and people and places that bring you positive energy. And then when you're ready, just bend your knees, slip the belt off your feet if it's possible, and then gently roll over onto the side. Just move all of the equipment out of the way. Just have a blanket for underneath your head, and just spend a few moments just in Shavasana, just laying across the floor, keeping yourself warm. Just allowing yourself to release that feeling, the positive energy that you have nurtured through our sequence of poses and our gratitude meditation. Basking in that feeling of positive energy, distribute it through into the tips of the toes, into the tips of the fingers, into the top of the head. Using the in-breath and the out-breath to move that energy around. And then when you're ready, just gently wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, bend your knees and draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. And then roll onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into cross-legged position. Bringing your hands into Masti, just a spinal lift. Drawing your breath in through your nose and down into your abdomen. Conscious of the energy that you have released through your simple, gentle sequence of restorative poses. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel like you've unwound and recharged, and you've got lots of good energy to now put into the rest of your evening. So thank you very much for joining me.